Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless y'all all. Happy Sabbath. We're coming into the Sabbath. I don't think the sun is quite down yet, but we are happy to be here again. Another episode of Bible, the Book of Our Fathers, the Book of Our Fathers. And tonight we're gonna go through a topic. The name of the topic will be "Discipline Now and Reward Later," or else we will be end up facing total self-annihilation. Okay, so I'm your host, Deacon Yawsop, and to my right is...
Hey, good afternoon, Israel. I'm Captain Dakar. Shalom, everybody.
Shalom, Israel. Happy Sabbath to you. I'm Captain Sariah.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. This is Officer Eli. Shalom.
All praises to the Most High, and we are all here, and we're going to go through a series of videos. And what I want to talk about is that the reason why I had the title named "Discipline Now and Reward Later" is because this gets into what is known as immediate gratification. Oftentimes, we as a people, we shun away from discipline. We shun away from putting in real work to get the results that we're supposed to get. What we tend to want to do is we want to reap the benefits of greatness, but don't want to put in the work required in getting it. So whenever we live a life like that, we will end up in a total destructive situation, and I want to talk about that as we go on. What I want to do at this moment, let me read a scripture to set everything up. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 47. Let's read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart.
So understanding that the Bible is the book of our fathers, okay, being that it's the book of our fathers, the message and the writings in this Bible is literally being spoken to us. That's the reason why, I, as well as many of us here, all of us perhaps at IUIC, we make it the point for us to understand that this is our mail that we're reading. This is our business. So when we're reading the Bible, we are actually reading a message that is personal to us. And once we get that understanding, the words have a new meaning. It has an identifying meaning. You're not reading it as if you're reading about other people. You're reading it as a message that pertains to you. Read it again.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God.
Because thou meaning you. Because we didn't serve the Lord our God with what?
Joyfulness.
With joyfulness. We did not want to do that. With joyfulness.
And with gladness of heart.
And with gladness of heart.
For the abundance of all things.
See, we had it pretty good when the Most High was blessing us. We were supposed to execute a level of discipline to make sure that goodness and the abundance of all things. We should have stayed on the path of being diligent and disciplined to guarantee the continuance in the abundance of all things. The abundance of all things was already in our grips, was already in our grasp, as you will. It was in our possession. And when we had it, in order to maintain it and keep it, we were supposed to keep the laws. We were supposed to keep the commandments of God with joyfulness and with gladness. But what ended up happening? We weren't joyful for the abundance of all things. We weren't glad for the abundance of all things. So that means we got lazy in terms of maintaining that discipline. And guess what happened? The abundance of all things began to leave us, and we went into captivity. Okay, this is the message that's being brought forth to us. Read it again.
Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
For the abundance of everything, the whole planet Earth was ours. And the only thing we had to do was maintain discipline and keeping the gladness and keeping the joyfulness in keeping the Lord's commandments. But we fell away from that joy. We fell away from that gladness. And what caused us to fall away from that? When we began to lack the discipline to make sure that the laws of God stayed in effect. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies.
Because of that, because of our lax attitude in maintaining the discipline to keep God's laws with joyfulness and gladness, because we went into the lackadaisical attitude with keeping God's laws, because of that, we did what? Therefore what?
Shall thou serve thy enemies?
Shall we serve our enemies, man? We served our enemies. We had to serve our enemies because we decided that we did not no longer want to keep God's laws, even though he was blessing us for keeping them. Wow. Go ahead.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
Which the Lord shall send against us. Go ahead.
In hunger.
In hunger. So that means if we need food, we have to go to our enemies for it. Why? Because we were not glad for the abundance of our own food. When we had our own food, we didn't have to worry about that. And we did not exercise discipline, which was a prerequisite of keeping our own abundance. Because we did not do that, we lost the control of our own abundance, and we have to be fed by our enemies. Go ahead.
And in thirst.
And in thirst, you water. Every nation is supposed to be able to feed themselves and give themselves drink. And we had that in abundance. Go ahead.
And in nakedness.
And in nakedness and clothing, shoes, coats, dresses, shirts, pants. These we have to go to the other nations to get these things. This is amazing. This is really a rough thing to swallow, and this curse has gotten so bad because we still refuse to come back to the Lord and do what he said do. When we start playing these series of videos, you're going to see how bad it has gotten because we still do not wish to exercise the very discipline that we fell away from. When we fell away from that discipline, we went into all kinds of evils. Now we're living in a time period now where we're almost facing total annihilation. When we start going through these videos about our brothers being locked up in jail with no parents, the parents weren't there. The society treated them like garbage. And I mean, our brothers, and I'm mainly speaking about the brothers, but our sisters also are going through crazy things. You know, I got some information about that. You know, we got all kinds of psychological problems and mental illnesses, trying to be normal, trying to keep a normal posture in a society that has been totally turned upside down. Why? Because we did not keep the commandments of God. And because that happened, the earth went out of course. And when the earth went out of course, that means everything in the earth was turned against us. That's a heavy statement when you really think about it. The whole planet Earth was made for us. That's why the Bible said, for the abundance of all things. Mm-hmm. The whole earth was given to us. And the only thing we needed to do was maintain a level of discipline to keep it that way. And because we fell away from that, then the earth went out of course. When you read Psalms 82 and 5. When the earth went out of course, that means everything within the earth, all of the forces, all of everything was now being used against us. The nations are using the resources that we're supposed to have and feeding it to us. And we got to jump through all kinds of hoops just to get a crumb. That's where we're at now. And our young men are catching hell. Our women are catching hell. Our children are catching hell. Everybody's catching hell. Why? Because we have not come to the realization that discipline and diligence in keeping God's commandments is needed. We haven't gotten to that yet. And that's the reason why the Lord is going to continue to turn the affliction up. But I want y'all to pay attention to the series of videos so that you can really see the ugliness that's facing our people. Okay, some of these events happened years ago, but I want you to take another look at it so that you can see that things have not changed. The only change that you do see is the men that you see around this table and the men that's in IUIC that's trying to bring a change to the ugly reality that we live in this system. That's why you see us in the marches. And it's a hell of a fight. We got demons all over trying to stop this truth. Okay, but we are steadfast to hold the line, like Captain Sarai and y'all be bringing out. Hold the line. We're doing that because we understand that if we don't do it, we all will be dead. We have to do it. We have no choice. We have to do it because it has gotten to that point now. It has gotten to that point now. It's at the wire now. That's what I want you to see. Read on.
And in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
And that's what has happened. Our minds are destroyed now. We are destroyed. We don't even want to. We can't even see our way into getting ourselves right. All right? Captain, y'all want to say anything on that before we move on? Anybody want to drop something in there? Because we're going to throw the videos up there. But y'all got anything that y'all want to throw in while I'm rolling?
Well, you know, Dick, when you read that, I was thinking about it. It said, because thou servest not the Lord thy God. Mm-hmm. Listen, that's the point that I want to make, is that we have to learn how to know that God loves us. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is that I was looking over there back in the same book, Deuteronomy. Give me Deuteronomy 8 and 5. I want to touch on something right quick, Officer Eli. Deuteronomy 8 and 5.
Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 5.
Uh-huh.
Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son,
read,
so the Lord thy God chasteneth thee.
That's love. That's what we don't understand what love look like. Love is chastening. And when this correction comes to our people and keeping God's commandment, that's the way that God wants us to follow. He's shown me that he loves me when he corrects me, when he showed me the way I need to be walking, when he's showing me the things that I must be doing. Chastisement is good. Correction is good. Those things are love. And that's what our people need to know what love looks like. Love looks like discipline. That's what it looks like to me. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, D.
Okay, all praises. Anybody else got a Captain, you got anything?
Well, I give me Isaiah 51 and 20 just before
y'all can just jump
go.
in. I ain't got to put the mic in your hands. You know what I'm saying?
Fine,
When y'all ready to roll, just drop it in.
Yes, sir. So Isaiah 51 and verse 20. And a lot of times we read the Bible, we read these scriptures, but when you actually see them come to life, that's when it makes a difference, because there again, this is the Bible, the book of our fathers. Can you read that for me?
Isaiah chapter 51, verse 20.
Uh-huh.
Thy sons have fainted.
And that's what you're going to see on these videos. Mm-hmm. You're going to see that our sons have fainted. Basically saying they're not even conscious of what's going on around them day in and day out. Literally, they unconscious. When somebody faint, they unconscious. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Oh, praises. Read on.
They lie at the head of all the streets.
A lot of times we see our young men, they out there, they on the corners. You know, we see them all over, but, you know, that's what a particular place where you can always go and find our young Israelite men out there on the corners. Read on.
As a wild bull in a net.
As a wild bull in a net. They wild just like a bull. You can't even, you know, you mess around, step on his shoe. They looking at you. They mad, they angry. You just speak to them in courtesy. Hey, how you doing? You know, brother, what you speaking to me for? You know, or just the look a lot of times. But they're like a wild bull in the net because their state of mind. Why is that? When you read on, we're going to see.
They are full of the fury of the Lord.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
They are full of the fury of the Lord.
They are full of the fury of the Lord. They don't even know what's going on. The Most High is bringing these things upon them because, like you said, the discipline that we're lacking as a people, as a nation, in our sons, in our daughters, how important we need discipline. Is that it?
The rebuke of thy God.
That is the rebuke of our God. That's all I got, Deke, for now.
Okay, all praise to the Most High. We're gonna move on, and Officer Eli, I know you got some things you want to drop. Did you have anything?
Oh no, I'll wait till the videos come out.
Okay, all right. Let's roll our first video because I want to talk about that. And as let's get it set up. Rather, let's get the video set up. The very first one about the 16-year-old kid. Okay, now we're about to drop that, but what I want to say before that is that we have gotten to a point about when we was reading in Deuteronomy, and I definitely want to talk about that part, Captain, that you brought up, Captain Sariah, about our sons have fainted. When you said that, I marked it down because I want to. There's a part of this video that I'm going to bring that thing up. But we have gotten to a point where, because of our coming away from God's laws, and our enemies have taken control of us, basically, and for the want of all things, he ruling over us totally. You know, there's something that we have to understand is that our past, our history was taken away from us. Okay, the history books don't really reflect about who we are. You go to the church is not teaching about who we are. You're not learning about who we really are as the people of God. We're not learning that at all. So here we are, a people that is robbed of our past. And then when we try to look into the future, our future is uncertain. We don't know, we feel like our lives are worth nothing. and so we can't really project and have any plan, any aspirations, any kinds of goals. We don't really set any goals because we don't really see that we even have a future. So once you have a people that's basically cut off from their past, and our enemies have basically taken responsibility for our future, that means we as men can't even plan our own future. So where does that leave us? That leaves us locked into the immediate present. And when that leaves us locked into the immediate present, that leaves you to do nothing else but be the perfect consumer. That's the reason why we will spend all kinds of money on so-called Christmas holidays, trying to kill a pain of not being able to do nothing with your past because you don't know anything about it. You can't really plan anything for your future. So everything is like a person that'll just drink himself to death in alcohol, take all kinds of dope, take all kinds of all things because his life does not exist in the past or in the future. So everything is about now. Mm-hmm. So if everything is about now, then why would you even think about saving money for your children or your grandchildren, or even going to college or any? And I'm not saying that that's the way to the future, but I'm just my point is we won't plan to do anything. Fast money, sell the dope. And I'm going to be in business for about a year before a rival drug dealer come and put two in my head or something because he wants my corner. And that's how we live, because we cannot see anything beyond that. Why did all of this happen? Because we fell away from God's laws. Yes. Mm-hmm. So this is what I mean when I say about if we don't get back to what the Bible says, which is our fathers. The Bible says that we must return back unto him. And if we don't, we are facing total annihilation. And that's what these videos are going to illustrate. Come on. Let's get it. We started right from the beginning. The name of this video is called "When a 16-Year-Old is Locked Up in a Supermax Prison." A 16-year-old kid, basically. Mm-hmm. Let's let it roll.
Here's a glimpse into my past to help you better understand. It was mistakes that brought me to this place where they degrade men, and hands I would trade because it made me a slave. Bondage and a cage, frustration, I'm enraged. This was my last resort. I ain't no stick-up kid on my last Newport. No place to live. Here's a glimpse into my past to help you better understand. Everything that I am not makes me who I am.
Pause it right there. He said everything that I am not, because he said a whole lot of stuff. This young brother, as you see, locked up, 16, and in this video, he goes. The story pans out to explains how he got here. So, what we're finding out is that he made a point. He said everything that I am not have made me what I am. He's talking about the negative imagery. He's saying that I'm not an evil person. I'm not an animal, some wild beast. But these are the things that are portrayed about me, and that's how you see me. That's what I get out of that. But let it play on. Let it play on.
I was 16. I just turned 16. They had cages like they would have at the zoo, but they're sectioned off, right? And there were guys filled with them in capacity.
Pause it. That's what I'm going to get to right there.
Yeah, I'm glad you did.
Pause it right there. Go back to that scripture that we was reading about our sons have fainted. Our sons have fainted because the brother said that everything that I am not is what y'all see me as, basically. And this is what we're talking about. This is where the mothers that gave birth to these boys, to these young men, you think they meant for their children to end up here? You got to really think about that. Do you think that we go to the 9 labors of our wife, go through 9 labors of, 9 months of carrying him, all kinds of hours in the hospital in labor to produce a child that's going to end up locked up? No. But this is what happens when we have veered off the path of discipline. And this is incumbent upon men. That's the reason why the war is against our young men. You know, the war is against men, period. But they destroy our men as boys. There was this doctor that wrote this book called Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. Okay, and that's what I'm getting into. It's easier to destroy black men or destroy men, period, when you destroy them as boys. And this is what we're talking about. So that's what you see here. Read that scripture again. Read that scripture that Captain Sarai pulled out.
Isaiah chapter 51, verse 20. Turn me up a little bit, Cap.
Mm-hmm.
Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the
sons.
streets.
Remember, we was reading earlier that this Bible is talking about us. It is our personal business. It is our mail. So the Bible, again, the book of our fathers, our daddies are speaking to us, basically. Our fathers are saying, listen, your sons, thy means your sons have fainted, meaning that they've lost consciousness, meaning that they don't know who they are. They don't know where they came from in their past. They have no direction about their future because their fathers are cut off. So they're just basically here. They're just basically in existence. There's no value to my life. Give me that dope. Give me that needle. Give me that marijuana. Give me that pint of Thunderbird or whatever liquors that they got out here. Give me that, because there's nothing. My life is worth nothing. That's what you call a fainted group of brothers. Read that again.
Verse 20. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets.
We lie at the head of all the streets, on the corners. Huh? On the corners. Why? Looking for something to get into, because these men have not been charged with doing some real work, because the fathers are gone. The fathers are out of the house. The fathers are destroyed in the streets. Winos, dope addicts, drug addicts, in jail, murdered. Whatever the case is, these young men have no fathers, no guidance, no real guidance. Then they go to church and then the preacher act like he's feminine. They ain't doing nothing for these brothers in the street. They looking for real manhood, man. And they don't have that, so they lie at the street trying to make their own manhood. And then they end up right here in these cages. Okay? Read.
They lie at the head of all the streets as a wild bull in a net.
And that's how they treat our sons. They treat thy sons, like the scriptures say, thy sons have fainted. They treat our young men as if they are wild bulls. They call us wilding, wolf pack, super predator, things like this. How do you, and even in the schools, I got some videos that talks about the school to prison pipeline. Even the students there, they're going to school, but the school itself look like a doggone prison.
Right.
I'm in New York City. I see how I don't know I haven't seen really of the schools down here, but in New York particularly, the schools look like prisons. Police up there in the school, you got to go through all kinds of security checkpoints for you to sit down and read a book, man. That psychological imagery that you see, even though they're telling you, oh, you want to be a doctor, you want to be an architect, you want to be a scientist or whatever, or you want to be a manager, you want to be whatever. They're telling you that you can be that, but in reality, your reality that you see is basically saying, I'm never going to make it to any of those things, because I'm passing by guns. I'm passing by what those things called? Metal detectors. There's the stun guns, handcuffs, batons. That's what they're passing by. And you think you said, wait a minute, I got books in my hand. What the hell? I'm looking at all of this here. What, am I, some kind of beast that you got to bring this kind of stuff in here? But that's the imagery that is brought back to us. So that imagery gets into our head, regardless of what they tell you when you get into the classroom. The reality is that you walk into a gauntlet of people that are set up to control violent, wild behavior, and you will internalize that. You will subconsciously accept that imagery about yourself. Okay, so you're being lined up for prison.
You would say the pipeline?
The pipeline, yes, sir.
Pipeline to the prison system?
Right, it's in the school. I got videos on that.
Yes,
we're going to
sir.
get into that, Lord's will. And if we don't get it this week, because we got a lot of videos going down. If we don't get it this week, we're going to get it next week. We're going to stay on this topic for a while. And yes, last week, I was saying that was part one. We're going to come back. We're going to put all this together. So take even the information that we brought out in part 1. You can bring it on into this, even though the name of this topic is different. Your brothers and sisters, I hope y'all can get with what we're bringing out. So the scriptures say, as a wild bull in a net. That's how they treat our brothers, and that's how our brothers are now, because they have had no guidance. They have had no. They have not been reared. Haven't seen any fathers or anything. And this was a deep rooted ploy that happened primarily because we disobeyed God's laws, but it brought all the way up to now to where the fathers have been systematically removed out of the houses during the 70s, so you can understand. And from the 70s, the generation that came out of that brought on to exactly what we see now. So it was an effort, and it was a well orchestrated plan to bring our people to this right here. But because we were lazy and we did not really do what we should have done, we've allowed this system to continue to spiral us into a vortex of destruction. Now we're at the point where we're about to be totally annihilated. And that's why I wanted to put some of these videos up here so that we could see the reality of our sons and see where our sons are going. Okay?
And just right quick, D, if you also notice, too, that, you're saying these are fatherless sons. Mm-hmm. But not only that, you see these men that's in the prison right now looking at them. They in there. 23, they in that prison 23 hours locked into a cell. Cage, right. And then they get an hour where you may see them doing this, what they doing now. They ain't out there shooting ball. They're locked in another cage like they, you see pit bulls and dogs and zoo animals locked in the cage. Mm-hmm. And not only that, these are probably majority of these men that's in there are fathers themselves. Right. And their sons back at home without them. Right. You see? And it says Supermax prison. I would say, what is a Supermax prison? Just right quick, it says Supermax is a term for a maximum security and describe the most secure prisons and prison units that house the most dangerous criminals.
The most dangerous
Sir.
criminals. So in other words, these people they don't need to be around society. They are so bad and terrible that you can't do nothing with them. Now, right. I don't know if you have more on that.
Well, I'm just going to say they put young, this is a young man we're talking about.
Exactly. And that's what this article is about.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. That's a good point, Captain. Yes, sir. So it was good that information come on. Let's play some more on that thing.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. I do not belong here. I do not want to be here. I want to go home. I have 13 years. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could wake up every day, look at the same wall every day. Like about 6 months in, I gave up. I'm not scared to admit I can't handle prison. I'm not that strong.
So what this means here is that people start to try to commit suicide and things of this nature. All right. Now there's a lot more to this video. Let's see what it says here. There are approximately 6,000 juveniles in adult jails and prisons in the United States. Wow. So that's going back to your point. You put a kid into this environment, basically tell him he's a beast. He's effed for life, as they would say. Yes, sir. His mind is gone. But even though I'm talking about brothers, sisters, because a lot of times people think that the sisters don't suffer as a result of this. These are future husbands. These are sons. Mothers are destroyed because of their sons that they hope to be something great when they come up, and then they see their son. They got to go visit him in a cage somewhere. That's horrifying for the sisters. That's horrifying for a mother. Okay, so just that alone. And not only that, she has to grow up knowing that there's hardly going to be any available black men for herself or even her daughters, because the majority of us are getting caught up in situations like this. How do we get here? By disobeying God's laws. When the Lord said in that Bible, when he said, in this Bible, I should say, when he says, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired, that is not a suggestive commandment. That is something that we must do. And if we don't do it, the Lord said that I will bring forth the decree. And I will bring forth before the day pass after chaff, before the day pass as the chaff, before the Lord bring his swift anger and destroy us, before the Lord bring that destruction. So we have to get ourselves together, brother. brothers and sisters. We have to. This is not a question about us asking.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must. Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know, too, Dig, I just this really stirs my spirit because I've seen these situations quite a bit, you know, in my time growing up. So one of the things I also remember too that you said earlier about like the mothers, you know, the grandmothers. A lot of times they see these grandkids or they see these kids and they themselves don't see no hope for them in the future as well. Like you said, the mothers, the women,
Right.
you know, and a lot of times they'll succumb to it, and you hear that come out of their mouth and say, "Look at him, he gonna be just like his daddy."
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and no positive, you know,
Right.
Affirmation to
Right.
drive the kid.
Basically telling him he has no future.
Right. Exactly.
So he said, if my mama don't believe in me, the
Right.
school don't believe in me, nobody believes in me, so I ain't gonna do nothing. Just give me the dope.
Yeah, you know, Dick, you're right. When the scriptures were read a while ago, and I was looking at it, it said the head of all the streets. That goes into the heads of all the cities. This is going into all of our community. This affected me and my home. So it's not only just one city they showed in California. This is all over the United States. This is happening in every neighborhood. This is experienced in most of our homes. We have somebody that we lost through the penal system. You know, so we all feel affected. This we might have had a child that has already been through the penal system that have served time and have a record to this day.
Play on some more on that video. And I want to get, there's another part of the same video that I want to get to, but play some more on that so we can get the gist of what this video is about. Go ahead. 6,000 in today's prisons. Wow.
I wasn't like a hellion or nothing like that, or like just the worst kid, but I got in trouble a little bit. My mom was mad at me, so I ran away. I met somebody. I went to his apartment. He talked to me, asked me questions like, do I want to stay there for a little while? I could stay there for a couple of days. They cooked me food. They fed me. I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna try to go home. And he said, you're going home? He left and went in the room. When he came back out with a gun. And he said, you think you're gonna eat my food for free? You think you're gonna live in my house and just walk out and things come free like that? No, nothing's free. And he said, no, you're gonna have to rob this store. The way he made it sound was like this, like, if you do it for me and you do it successfully, I'll probably even give you some of the money.
If you do it
But
successfully.
you're gonna do this for me. It was in a fast trip gas station. I remember seeing gangster movies, Men's Society, Boys in the Hood, where they had guns. And in all those movies, when they pulled their gun out, they held it like this. So that's what I did.
So wait, whoa. I can't let that slide. That thing just caught me.
Right.
He learned, and in other words, he got the image on how to rob a store and hold a gun according to a doggone movie.
Right.
Imagery, again,
Imagery,
which
right.
is what shapes our minds. You dig it? So he went in there because they have the guy holding the gun sideways and all of that.
Yes, sir.
And then he realized in real life the gun's going to pop this way. You're going to miss everything. So, well, there you go.
Right.
Go ahead.
And I said, empty out.
I hit my hand down like that. The gun went off, smoke, commotion, no customers in the store.
When the gun went off, it snapped me to attention. I was like, vacate the premises. So I tried to run. Circlers hopped on
Hold
top
on.
of me.
When he said when the
and
gun
started
went
beating.
off, wait a minute, because there's a lot of points being said here. When he pulled that trigger and that bullet went out,
Yes.
reality came.
Right.
Because you can't call it back. It's once that happens, now your life begins, the ending of your life begins right there. Because consequences, everything else is getting ready to go down now.
Right.
There's no turning back, basically. Go ahead.
Me. I said, God, if you get me out of this, I swear I'll be good. I swear. You have my word. Get me out of this, and I'll be a good boy. I promise. Amen.
How's it gonna get out when he don't know how to
Pause
do
it
it?
for a
held him at
minute.
gunpoint.
You know, D, I'm sure we all have some of them moments in our
Of
life.
course, yeah.
You know, I
Right.
can relate to that. You
Right,
know?
I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
In my dumb younger years,
Yes, sir.
drinking had this. Well, I ain't gonna
No,
say it on
well,
here.
you know,
But
we crossed the line.
We crossed the line,
Like you
and I
said.
remember getting so tore up. I was a teenager, you
Yes,
know,
sir.
being stupid.
Yes, sir.
You know, and
Yes, sir.
running on top, you know, and I said, man, if I get out of this, I ain't never gonna do this again.
Right,
It's the
right.
same
You know,
prayer.
certain. Right, so we all prayed that thing.
Right.
But the point behind that is that how would you not do anything? How would you not do that again if nobody's showing you the roadmap to prevent it from in the first place? And that's what I meant when I said that we live in a society now where these opportunities to know how to not repeat that. It's not there. We that's not shown to us. So although we mean well there because the reality is it.
Right.
You know, but when it's all said and done, you ask yourself, okay, well, how do I prevent from going down? And when you look for the ways, that's not there. School ain't showing you nothing. You ain't see nothing on TV. Nobody in the community. My father's gone. So you don't really have a way to prevent you from going to doing exactly the same thing that you said that you was never going to do again. But what that's really saying is that the brother is crying out, please help me so that I'll never have to see this reality again.
Right, right. And it was a point in there, too, where he had came to a sense. He said, I'm going home.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he made his mind to go home,
Yep.
now he faced another opposition.
Right. Dude say, you ain't leaving out of here.
Right, you ain't gonna lie here, sleep here, eat for free, and you know now he puts him in that position that he got to make a decision of his life or doing even more evil.
Exactly.
You know? So that's a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that Deke that you said even like with school. I forgot the name of the movie where he said he wanted to be a doctor or something or a lawyer, and the teacher was like, No, you don't want to.
That was Malcolm X.
Malcolm X, right?
Yeah, that was Malcolm X.
So even in the 70s, they was telling him, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be successful in life. You could be in a waste management.
Right.
You know.
Right.
You should do that.
Right.
And that's what they do to us. They put us in positions to where they tell us the only jobs you can get is the lowest of the low. You have some that reach out, the athletes and so forth, that are talented, but even that is a breeding ground. You know, they're starting to do that from the youth up now. Those young men, they're telling them, send your tapes in from rec league, send your kids tapes in. So they're starting to look at these kids now at 5, 6, 7 years old to breed them to come to the NFL.
Exactly. And you know, I used to wonder why, you know, but most of the brothers that I came up with, they were great in basketball, you know, and different sports because those were the images that were shown to us. And everybody wanted to be Michael Jordan. Everybody wanted to be Dr. J because they saw that as reachable because that's the only thing that's shown to them. But if you came saying that you wanted to be an architect or a doctor or something, they'd think that you're white. We used to attribute those categories of learning as white folks because that's not normal around us. You know, you walk through and you got your architect tube and all of that.
Right.
You know, and they said, "This dude, what the hell is that?" You know, that kind of thing. So.
You want to go into
Yeah.
a little bit more?
Yes, sir.
A little bit more of the video, please.
Until the cops came.
So they say they held him
have
at
a lot of
gunpoint
adrenaline
until
running
because maybe the people didn't hear that. He says so the kid was so nervous and so messed up that he missed. So they actually pulled guns on him and said, "You're not moving until the cops come." So they held him at gunpoint till the police came and took the boy. Go ahead.
You have a lot of adrenaline running through your head at the time, so you're not really thinking until after. And then it all started sinking in that this is really a kid.
2 weeks earlier on March, they had passed a law. 2 weeks earlier on March 7, 2000, California had passed a law making it easier to prosecute juveniles as adults.
Wow.
The whole campaign went down during the 2000. That was during the Clinton, the 3 strikes law. All that stuff was coming out. Super Predator, all that stuff popped up then.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Go ahead. Boys in the Hood. all those
Alarming
videos.
news reports describing teens as time bombs and super predators have heightened
Youth is no excuse for committing murder, robbery, rape, home invasions, or for terrorizing entire neighborhoods.
Proponents argue stern measures are necessary to combat rising youth crime.
We cannot
Many of the worst super predators were juveniles, and they were being referred to a system that was created to handle bad boys. We were walking around basically unarmed in terms of our penal statutes when it came to juveniles. And that is why Proposition 21 came about.
So Proposition, pause it for a second. So now everybody got the understanding about Proposition 21. Proposition 21 gave the states the power to try these juveniles as adults, because prior to that, the juveniles will be allowed to just go wild and that's what they're saying. So, I know some people might. I know there's a segment of our of the people out there. Maybe it might not necessarily be our people, but some people be like, okay, well, you want to let them all go? No, that's not what I'm saying. I know some of our people they can't be loose because their minds have already messed up, so they have to be dealt with in a different way to correct them. But what I am saying is that we have a system in place that is not geared to really correct. The system is called corrections. They're not really correcting them. They're making profit off of them, to be honest. You understand? And it's a whole system that's geared to do that. This is what you call engineered criminals. I guess that's the way to put it. These criminals were engineered. Okay, the seeds of creating criminals started all the way back. You mentioned about Malcolm X in the early, actually he was like the 40s or the 50s when he was in the 8th grade. But that particular thing came all the way up to the 70s, like you was bringing out, Officer Eli, and then the welfare laws kicked into place to make sure that the man wasn't in the home. All of these things contributed to making these quote unquote super predators. So there's no real desire to correct them like the system of corrections is indicating. No, it is not really designed for that. No, because they always want some kind of slave in this system, and that's how you get your slavery, through this kind of system here. All right, that's coming up more in my lesson.
Can I read something about super predator?
Yes, sir.
It says a super predator. It says a term used to refer to a dangerous youth in which rehabilitation seemed improbable.
A damn animal. That's what they're saying. He's a damn Tasmanian devil. Kill him. Yeah, that's basically what they're saying.
Yes. It says there are not just gangs or kids anymore. There are often the kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We just read in Isaiah 51:20 said, "Our sons have fainted." There it is. Unconscious.
Exactly. We have it. Basically, what I was making a point about, like what Officer Eli talked about with Malcolm. We have a society that basically shaped the way our people are today. The environment made the people the way they are, and the reason why I say that is because these are facts. When you have people that's growing up in these kinds of environments, their whole mentality is going to reflect that from that which is around them. There has been studies. Esau Deuce study.
Right.
There were studies during the time of I remember during the time of the 60s. Of course, I was a little babe, but a small child. But I would do some reading and some research and some studying certain things. And I remember that there was and during the schools like Yale they used to do certain experiments on the campuses, colleges, because they were experimenting on behavioral science and things like this here. And I remember they had what was known as the Stanford prison experiment. And what they had done, they had taken quote-unquote ordinary students and divided the students up and made one half of them inmates and made another half of them correction officers or policemen, and put them in uniforms. Put the students in uniforms with the dark glasses and all of those things. It's a famous experiment. I think they even made a movie.
It's a movie.
They actually made a movie out of it, but it's a real experiment. They converted the basement of their place and made real cells. And the point was, they were watching how the environment of the uniforms. You got on inmate clothing. You got on certain clothing. It will begin to shape your psychology. The officers with their uniforms, it began to shape their psychology. And these were students, were classmates in the beginning, but the effects of the reality of their environment, of their clothing, for instance, and the batons and the things that they had, began to put in their mind that they really felt like they were as they were dressed. So my point is that when you send a child through a school system and all he sees is bars and this and that, that will begin to tell him that he's an animal. Just like it did in that experiment, it began to tell these men that they were real cops. It began to tell the other ones that they were real inmates. Go check that thing out. But it shows you how, what I guess they would call it, social science, on how it molds people's minds. Okay, and that's what imagery does. And that's the reason why it's so important for us to not indulge in negative imagery, because the danger of it is far beyond what you can even imagine. It's far beyond anything that you can imagine.
So, Dick, you saying that they used also the clothing?
Yeah.
The reason why I say that because I noticed, like my son, when he started going to a charter school, they actually started wearing uniforms.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So I never really picked up on it. I thought it was a good thing, you know, that they was, okay, some type of order, like what we even have in Israel United in Christ.
Exactly.
You know, discipline,
exactly.
order in how we dress, how our women dress modestly.
Exactly.
Know? So, you know, but it's a lot more behind it.
Absolutely.
It's
that. Right. It's spirit. You know, we call it psychological in secular terms, but biblically it's the spiritual effect of the clothing. You know, that's why you want the woman to dress properly. You want the man to dress properly, because your spirit will have to adhere to the image that you're putting out. Nobody would expect for you to talk like some beast in the street when you're dressed up nice.
Oh, Dig, I'm glad you say that. I actually saw where a sister had posted on Facebook, you know, asking other sisters, how do you feel now that you wear dresses and don't wear pants anymore? And a lot of the response I saw, that a lot of the sisters said, I feel more like a lady now.
Exactly.
I'm well respected at my job
exactly.
to not do certain things that men would take the initiative to do, and I don't have to, you know, do it myself as a woman, you know. So that's heavy.
Let's read that scripture, Deuteronomy 22:5. That's the reason why God has that thing written in that Bible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, even the law on the fringes has an effect. If I know I got these fringes on, I'm going to think twice before I commit, even if the evil is tempting. I said, but wait a minute, I look down and I see these fringes. I'm going to withdraw from this temptation of evil.
Oh, praise.
Read that thing.
Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man.
Because eventually it will change her spirit. She will act like a man in spirit. Go ahead.
Neither shall a man put on a woman's garment.
When a man put on a woman's garment, he put a dress on. After a while, he was talking about some tutti frutti, let me float through the tulips and all that BS. That's because the spirit of the dress has warped his head. And the same thing that happens with our women with these pants on. They put these pants on, they be like, move, nigga. Like they the man now. But the point is, clothes have a spiritual effect, or in today's terms, a psychological effect.
Yes,
you will mimic what you're showing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's the reason why Dave Chappelle.
That's what I was thinking of right there.
Dave Chappelle said he coming in the room and he said, "There's a dress in here. I ain't putting that on." Oh, all of the greats have done it, Dave. Like they told him, like to make it like he's supposed to go ahead and do it anyway because this one did it, that one did it. But he understood the effect of that thing. You understand? But this is biblical. Okay. So whenever again, when our environment shapes how we think and how we behave, and the cages all over the place. The way the prison look and all of that has an effect on us because we don't see no other kind of imagery to show us otherwise. Okay, but like I said again, I know we got some bad kids out there, and I know damn well that if you get near them, they're going to do some evil to you. We understand that, but my point is about dealing with the cause of what caused it. You dig what I'm saying? No, I know not to get to, because I know it'll happen. Our people got some real mean, wicked spirits on them. But I'm just addressing the cause to put an end to it. And that is incumbent upon us as men to look at the problem and do as men would do, stand up and be disciplined and change his nation according to the laws of God. Go ahead.
Just a side note, it was the Stanford Prison Project experiment.
That's what I said?
That's the name of the movie.
Right. Oh, that's okay. But that's the actual name, Stanford Prison Experiment. You can actually look that up. They got videos. You can read about it in certain articles and all that. But you pointed that there's a movie.
Yeah, it's an actual movie.
Wow. Wow, I never seen it.
2015.
Okay, I got to check it out. Oh, I did hear about it. Forrest Whitaker played in it. I think was he a part of it?
I don't remember the main character.
I think somebody mentioned that to me. I do remember it being mentioned. But anyway, that's the point there. All right, so let's go on with it. California juvenile justice, Supermax prison. The boys are locked up. That's what we're looking at now. Go ahead.
Lawrence Youth Crime Initiative is on the March 7th ballot.
Opponents say the measure would sweep more youth into the criminal justice system in a state that already locks up more kids per capita than any other.
These crimes are dangerous. What people have to remember is that a lot of people out there who are trying to make a living have a right not to be terrified. And their right, frankly, trumps an ex post facto sob story.
Alonzo Thomas was the first minor tried as an adult under Prop 21 in Kern County.
Was Alonzo a juvenile super predator?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So that was his attorney.
It surprised me why the prosecutor would file in adult court, because the robbery was botched. And it was botched because he's a 15-year-old youngster.
Now, pause it for a second. I'm going to cross-reference something. I don't remember if it was last week, but I remember making a point about that there in certain counties or in certain places that if you was with a gang of brothers and y'all went to commit a robbery or something and somebody died or something, I'm trying to remember how the case went. You will be charged for that person's murder.
Right.
If the police had to kill him or something happened to him.
That's right.
You know, even if you yourself didn't do it. Mm-hmm. But just because you were there and you brought the elements of the situation that caused this kind of reality, the ringleader or the people that's involved in it were going to be charged with that man's murder, even if they themselves didn't fire the weapon or they even had the gun, just the fact that they were there.
That guilt by association. I think
right.
you were sharing.
Right, exactly. Right. So I wanted to make the point that all of these things go together. All of these things go together. And I was making a point. I said I can see where they're coming from, although I don't agree with it. But I can see the point that they were trying to make in indicting the person, even if he didn't have the gun, because they're saying that the situation would not have even taken place had you not even come out to do this crime. So because you decided to do this crime and people end up dying because they had an interaction with you, you're going to be charged with this man's death, even if the police had to kill him. Yeah, that kind of stuff. So something to that effect.
It was the
Illinois or something.
I forgot the county, but what he said was something to that effect of.
I'm trying to remember how so I don't say it the wrong way.
In a way, he said that considering the outcome,
right?
Meaning either y'all would have got away with it, somebody would have got shot. Like the potential outcome that somebody could die,
right,
or this could happen from this particular action,
right,
is enough to charge all the rest of them.
Right. That's what it was. They were talking about the potential of it going further. Right. You're right about that. Forgive me, brothers and sisters, but I knew that there was a correlation to what I was trying to bring out. But Officer Eli, you brought it home. All right. So we were in the video. So I wanted to get to a part. Let's play a little bit more on this, and I wanted to get to another part of you know what? Move the cursor up. I want to, because like I said, there's more videos. Move the cursor up. So as you can see, people were advocating that this should not have been, because he was a youth, and the circumstances of his environment brought him to this kind of reality. So therefore, you should have some kind of leniency on him, because in reality, he is not this super predator. He just got caught up in some bad things. And perhaps we meaning the state, should offer some rehabilitation to really help this young man out. So this particular video goes into that at near the end. But move up to about 40. I want y'all to see something.
And granted, this was his first offense.
Right. He had no priors. Mm-hmm. Move on further. Y'all should watch this. The links are here, or y'all can see the name of the videos. Y'all should be able to catch some of these videos. By the way, his brother was a wide receiver for the Washington Redskins.
Right.
So that's what they were talking about there. So move on further. There's a section in there where it says 4 years later. Skim some more. there's a section when it said about 4 years later. I want you to see. It might be coming up. Ho. Back up. Because I thought I had the time. Back up a little bit. It was around that point there. Let me see. Play it. Let me see something.
Some are antipsychotic, some are antidepressant, and
Back it
one's
up
for
some.
anxiety.
I think back it up some. Go back it up a little bit. There was a part when they had the black words up there when they said 4 years later. And I didn't mark the time because the time wouldn't show up on his phone for some reason. Y'all say something because it's something I want y'all to see. I think it's important. Y'all can speak it. I have to look for this section of the video.
Well, I'll tell you what, too, D, we're going to go into a break here.
Okay,
in
that'll
about
give
2
me time to
minutes,
look for it.
And that'll give us a chance to find that. So we appreciate y'all staying tuned with us here with the Bible, the book of our fathers. If you could, give me Isaiah 42 and 22. Isaiah 42 and 22.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled.
Just like what Deacon was bringing out earlier, we're a people that's robbed and spoiled. Well, what do you say we robbed of and spoiled of? Well, one of the main things is we robbed of our knowing our history, knowing who we are as a people, and there again you see that, like we brought out earlier in the show, that they don't have no future to look forward to. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? They're trying to even learn about their past to grab a hold of something from their past that would inspire them to move into their future. But there's nothing there. They just groping, and there's nothing there at all. That's sad. But there again it says, read on.
This is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes.
Snared in holes. You fall in a hole that you trying to find your way. You scratching and grinding, trying to climb out of a hole. Can you imagine yourself being in a hole? Well, truth be told, if you look at a lot of our young men, I was one of those young men, searching and reaching and trying to find myself wherever I could get a hold of to find some, what can I say, Captain DeCarl? Trying to find some place in life,
right?
Your
identity,
right?
Yes.
Trying to find some type of identity or something
or
to reach
purpose,
out to,
right?
A purpose. That's
Purpose.
it, right there. A purpose. Read on, officer.
And they are hid in prison houses.
Then you find yourself, you don't grab the hold of the wrong thing, searching for purpose, and you selling drugs or robbing a store or doing drugs and just in all types of foolery without no discipline, no guidance of even a father or even some without even a mother. Mm-hmm. But especially for a man, a young man or a young boy, he's looking for that father guidance, right? So then he finds himself in prison houses. Okay, read on.
They are for a prey.
Then we're preyed upon as a young man, as he was at 16 years old. He is in an adult prison. He's prey now. Read on.
And none deliver.
Nobody to deliver him.
For a spoil, and none saith, restore.
Nobody's saying restore this young man. He shouldn't be in that particular condition. So go ahead, D. I know we're on the last minute before we go on break.
Well, right, because I found the time, and I think I think I could squeeze it in because when we come back, we'll deal with a different video.
Okay.
Right. So I see the time.
Yes, sir.
I want to go to 24 minutes and 43 seconds. Go to there. And this ain't gonna take long, but I want y'all to, since we're gonna tie this video up, so when we come back, we'll be on a different video. I want y'all to see this here. 4 months later, same brother.
I don't sleep often. But sometimes when I sleep, I just, I wake up and I get up and I don't realize where I'm at.
Pause it.
Does it feel good?
Hold, stop.
Yeah.
I want y'all to see those movements.
Yeah.
You see how he is now? He's nervous. There's a lot going on in that man's head. Mm-hmm. When I first saw it, I just zeroed in on that scene because I worked in a situation where I used to see a lot of these youths come in. Parents didn't give a damn about them. Some of the, like the adolescent psych units and stuff like that. A lot of times the parents, because they did not even want to be bothered with them, would send them there and leave them there and would hope that when the insurance run out, they want to kick them back and then the mothers have to come back and get them and the moms don't want them. So it become a fight some damn times because they don't want to take the child back. You think and right. Just imagine the child seeing this. Imagine the kid said, damn, my mama don't even want me. Wow. My daddy don't even want me. That kind of, and these are the kinds of things here. And when these kids are there, when these kids don't really get the proper visitation and stuff like that, they become they become subjects of all kinds of medicines, Ritalin, Seroquel, all kinds. They got all kinds of Haldor, Zyprexa. I can name it because I was there. I seen it. They give all these kinds of Ritalin, all kinds of medications that they will give to these kids because they're basically thrown away. Okay, so that's what you're looking at here. 4 years later, this is what we're talking about. So started again from the 4 years, and I'm looking. When I saw how he was trembling, I used to see kids like this, people his age, sitting up in the doggone in the hospitals, trembling like this here. And I used to talk with some of them, and they used to tell me, my mama don't care about me, my father don't care about me, this and that and the other. And I would know the information because it said the insurance run out. Sometimes the staff would speak about it, said we got to get him out of here because we got new patients coming in, and we need to get him out. Stuff like that. Hit it.
I don't sleep often, but sometimes when I sleep, I just, I wake up and I get up and I don't realize where I'm at.
His hands is all that.
Does it feel good?
All that.
Does it feel good?
To realize you're not in prison anymore?
No.
Because this is worse.
I would think that would feel good.
Yeah.
Just grilled that young man.
Yeah.
To remember that you're free.
That's another thing too.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah. You've had pause it, and we're gonna take the break. But I want to say this here: you would hear inmates, you would hear people that been locked up for a long time. They'll come out because once you're inside that hole, once you're inside that cage, that becomes your home. Mm-hmm. That becomes your comfort zone. That becomes your world. You will make normality, like I talked about. I forget where, but you will make that your norm. And then you're released. Now you got to go back into the world that don't give a F about you. You got to make it, and that's terrifying to you. And a lot of these, in their mind, they be like, I need to go back home to the hole where I'm comfortable at. And that's why a lot of times when these inmates are leaving, the people are leaving, the other inmates and the people in there say, you'll be back. Because they know that when they get out there, they're not going to be able to function because time has moved past them. First of all, they went in with no skills. They damn sure ain't going to come out with them. So the world is terrifying to these men. Okay, when they come home and they try to get with their wives and all that, the wife don't understand because his mind is on mush. The wife can't relate to him. The kids can't relate. It's a mess because they got destroyed in there. And when you start thinking about all of that, then somewhere in the back of your mind, you start thinking about how all of this began. It began because mama wasn't there, because daddy wasn't there, because nobody gave a F about me. That kind of stuff, and I ended up in all of this mess. Now I can't even make a life for myself or for my wife and kids. I can't even relate to them. That's what's going through this man's mind. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
I was just saying that I was watching what Deke was talking about his body language.
Yes,
he's really showing you he's
terrified.
Himself. Right. He's not conducive. That this environment is not healthy for him. Even being on that couch, because I think she even asked him. She asked him, "You should be something like out of prison." You know, he kind of just got silent, like, prison was his home. But that's what you was talking about.
And then they give him medication to kind of quell those things, but nothing quells the psychology in his mind about what happened to him. And not only with him, the family that's at home, they went through a whole series of abuse, a whole series of psychological trauma because their daddy is missing, because their father is missing, because their brother is missing. Go ahead. So. I guess with that, go ahead. Well, let's go ahead, Captain.
Before we close out,
right.
let me read the scripture. Yeah,
yes,
so we're gonna go into a little break here. I'm gonna close it out with this. Go into this break with this scripture here. Give me Isaiah 42:24. While you're getting that, and like you said, I noticed that he did say he was on about 3 or 4 different meds.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, wow, just to be able to sustain outside of the prison, nonetheless in the solitary confinement that he was in. Isaiah 42:24.
Isaiah chapter 42, verse 24. Who gave Jacob for a spoil?
Who gave Israel, us, as a spoil? Go ahead.
And Israel to the robbers.
And us, Israel, to the robbers.
Did not the Lord?
The Most High himself did this. Read on.
he against whom we have sinned.
Because we have sinned against the Most High God. We had not been disciplined into the law, statutes, commandments that the Most High gave us through the book, the Bible, the book itself, the Bible of our fathers. Read on.
For they would not walk in his ways.
We would not walk in his ways, keeping these law, statutes, commandments. Go ahead.
Neither were they obedient unto his law.
So y'all meditate on that, and as we go into a little break, we'll be back here soon. Stay tuned.
Shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. Captain Soraya here from IUIC Concord. As a reminder, Passover 2020 is being held, that's right, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And you know it's going to be live. Leadership going to be on deck from bishop down to the captain. And that's just the beginning. Every single thing from Passover 2020 will be on point. The Passover lamb, entertainment, the fashion show, and much, I say much, much more. All praises. I can't wait. Not to mention the Carolina's very own radio show, the Bible, Book of Our Fathers, will air live. If you haven't already, reach out to your camp leader for the registration info. Get registered, and we'll see you there. That's my time, Israel. With that, I say shalom.
Shalom, Israel. We're back. And I want to just go right into our second video. Let's get our second video queued up, and we want to get right into that. So that bit of information and video that we saw was rather touching, but the saga continues. The saga continues. All right. Look at our second video. Let's see what we got. Yeah. Is that it? Okay. Come on.
We turn now to another tragic story about a young man who learned the hard way about the troubles plaguing America's criminal justice system. Khalif Browner was arrested at 16, never convicted of a crime, never had a trial, but spent more than 3 years in one of the most violent jails in the country. Tonight, here is Khalif in his own words.
So hold on. We got voices on the mic. I don't hear myself. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here we have another situation. Now this young man, many of y'all know about that, and I believe Jay-Z, the rapper, the brother, he did a documentary featuring this brother here. So that was good. I give Jay-Z props for that, definitely. But here's a situation to show you the criminal justice system, period. Okay, this boy was 100% complete innocent. And the same, like we was looking at the psychological effect of what happened to the brother, the psychological effect took this brother for no reason, basically. He shouldn't have been connected to this thing at all.
Right.
And because he recognized how what's the word, wretched the system was, he defied copping a plea of guilty to say, listen, this system is messed up. So start it from the beginning. Start it from the beginning. I don't want y'all to hear all of this. I know many of us have heard it, but I want y'all to really dig into some of the traumas that came out of this. Come on.
To another tragic story about a young man who learned the hard way about the troubles plaguing America's criminal justice system. Khalif Browner was arrested at 16, never convicted of a crime, never had a trial, but spent more than 3 years in one of the most violent jails in the country. Tonight, here is Khalif.
So wait a minute, pause it. He never committed a crime. He never pleaded guilty, and he never received a trial. So while he was awaiting trial, he had to sit in Rikers Island, basically. That's where the prison was. He was in Rikers Island for 3 years. So while he was in Rikers Island, all of the ugly reality of Rikers Island is being pressed into his psychology. For nothing, because he shouldn't have been there. Okay? So roll it.
You're supposed to be innocent to prove guilty, but the way the system is you're guilty to proven innocent.
Little did we know Khalif Browner was already dying inside the day we met him. At the easy age of 22, he'd already learned more about America's criminal justice system and endured more than any soul should ever have to. That's Khalif there on the floor inside Rikers Island, New York City's most notorious jail, beaten by a gang of fellow inmates, all caught on camera. At the age of 16, he was arrested and sent here for allegedly stealing a backpack.
It was like hell on earth. We were beaten, stomped by the correction officers, and they was just beating on me.
Beatings captured on surveillance video obtained by the New Yorker magazine, which first brought Khalif's story to light. In this video, we see him being escorted to the prison shower. He appears to speak to the guard, who in seconds is seen slamming him into a wall and then to the ground.
And I cried myself to sleep because it's like, I want to go home, and it's like they're not letting me go home.
To go home, Khalif's mother, Vanita Browner, needed to post bail of $3,000. Money, she said, she just didn't have.
What was your reaction when you heard that your 16-year-old boy was being sent to Rikers Island?
My heart dropped. You know, I had heard so many horror stories about Rikers, and all I could picture was him getting hurt in there.
Court records show Khalif had attempted suicide at least 6 times, spent 1,110 days behind bars, more than 800 of those in solitary confinement. His court date postponed more than 30 times. He endured all this having never been given a trial, never convicted of a crime. Finally, in June of 2013, all charges against Khalif were dismissed. But his experience exposed a troubled criminal justice system and the brutality of life behind bars.
I think at some point, almost a reckless disregard by the prosecutors in this case. They didn't care, Byron. They saw his file. They saw that he was in jail. And he'd probably take a plea, and they were hoping he'd take a plea.
The judge told me that if I plead guilty, I would release from jail that same day. But I didn't do it. You're not going to make me say I did something just so I could go home.
When we first met him, November of last year, he was doing better, he said. Earned his GED, started classes at Bronx Community College, pulling a 3.56 GPA. But the psychological trauma Stop. A 3.56 GPA is basically a straight A student.
That's right.
That's an A student. That was his, I guess that was his GPA. That was his grade point average. That's damn near for what they call a 4.0. 4.0 is like the top. So this is the kind of mind that he has the potential to roll with.
He was very intelligent, D.
Exactly. Okay. So he was trying to do a good thing by standing up for others who will go through the same thing. You dig it? But the psychological demons, just like we talked about in the other video, took place on this young man as well, as you will see as the video go on. The reason why I'm bringing these videos out is because why is all of this reality our reality? Because we did not adhere to the discipline that God told us to do. And because we didn't do that, and we ended up in this mess that we're in now. And what do you think it's going to take for us to get out of it? We're going to have to turn and do what this Bible says, and we're going to have to be pragmatic about it. It's a word I haven't used in a while. We're going to have to be pragmatic. In other words, we got to do it regardless. Because if we don't, we're going to be dead.
Right.
If we don't do it, we're going to be wiped out. If we don't be disciplined enough to say, listen, we have to do it, period. Because if we don't, we're going to be dead. There would be no black men. There would be no husbands. There would be no sons. Damn it. Somebody got to stand up and say, where do we draw the line, man? How much of this death do we have to see?
And you notice what Deke is talking about. Both young men had the same thing in common. Get me 7:14 Chronicles. Both of them said the same thing. The first 16-year-old said it, then the second 16-year-old said it. That's what our people have to do. We have to repent and let's go home. That's what they were saying. The first one said, I want to go home. This young man said the same thing. He want to go home. Read that for me, 7:14 Chronicles.
Second Chronicles?
Second. Yes, sir. Because our people need to go home. We need to go back to these statutes. We need to go back to these laws. We need to go back in home and repent to our Father and get ourselves right. Read that, Eli.
Second Chronicles, chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name.
If we just know that we have elders, we know that we have leaders in our community, those that can teach us, show us the way home. Read on.
Shall humble themselves and pray.
Get our minds right. Read.
And seek my face.
Seek the face of God, because we have elders in our community now. We have leaders in our neighborhoods now. We have those that's repenting and showing our sons and daughters how to get their minds right. Read on.
And turn from their wicked ways.
That's what we have to do. Come out from these nations. Come out from these people and come back and gather ourselves unto the one name that we're the chosen Israelites. Read on.
Then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin.
Read.
And will heal their land.
And then we can be healed as a nation of people when we come back together, one spirit, one mind. That's what we must do. We have to go back home. That's what I'm hearing these young men say. They saying the same thing. They say, I want to go home. I'm saying the same thing. I want to go home too. I want to go home and be a part of that elect. And that's what we must do and continue together in the nation of Israel. That's what I got, Dick, on that.
Play on, unless y'all got something.
No, we go on with Khalif Browder. Some more in there. He's
hit it.
And its toll. And when he first came
back
home,
it up again, because we want to hear the words. Because we were talking. Back it up. Get him.
Jail had taken its toll.
Jail had taken. He was making a point. I'm sorry. I'm talking with. I want to make sure that the people at home, are hearing these words. Get it again, because I want you to hear what they're saying about him. Back it up. Get that whole scene. Him being on the subway. Oh, wait, click it.
I didn't do it. You're not going to make me say I did something just so I could go home.
When we first met him, November of last year, he was doing better, he said. Earned his GED, started classes at Bronx Community College, pulling a 3.56 GPA. But the psychological trauma from jail had taken its toll.
And when he first came home, he would just walk the four corners of the driveway.
You hear animals do that have been confined to a space.
Pause it. Walk the four corners of his driveway. That's that damn cage I was talking about earlier. Right. Because that's what he's used to.
That's it.
Go ahead.
And I had to watch my baby go through all of that.
In the last year, Khalif grew depressed, deeply paranoid.
You know, deep down, I'm a mess. I feel like I'm a grown old man.
And then 2 Saturdays ago, 2 years after his release from jail, Khalif Browder hanged himself with an air conditioner cord in his home in the Bronx. He was 22.
I didn't know what to do. Can you imagine finding your son and he's hanging with his head back?
Khalif's death made national news, and messages of outrage mixed with sympathy flooded social media. John Legend wrote in an op-ed that New York failed Khalif. Lena Dunham Instagrammed his photo and called for reform. Our interview with Khalif went viral on Facebook. What we now know is that Khalif was due in court to face new charges of disorderly conduct the week he took his own life. His family said he was scared to go back into jail. By now, the beatings he endured in Rikers had been seen millions of times online.
What did Rikers do to your son?
It destroyed him. It destroyed him mentally.
It's not so much. Hold it. It's not so much about what Rikers. That's another. I just thought about it. It's not so much what Rikers did. The whole society played a part in shaping the reality of what happened to, because he was looked at as a criminal when there was no proof.
Right.
And he went through all of that. So, like I said, the educational system, the media system, all of these things makes us a criminal, makes us a super predator, makes us a wolf pack, makes us a demon, makes us an animal that need to be in a damn cage. And we don't even have the discipline to fight back. And when I say fight back, let me tell you exactly what I mean. We know damn well that a lot of our sons are targets, and yet we're going to continue to break God. Give me Jeremiah 10. Give me Jeremiah 10. Jeremiah the 10th chapter. A lot of our people went and celebrated Christmas, and we teaching the facts about Christmas was based on damn slavery. What are you talking about? Come on, read that. Jeremiah chapter 10.
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Learn not the way of the nations. The Most High, again, is speaking to us. We're the recipients of this word that's in this Bible. We're supposed to adhere to what's written in this Bible as the message directed towards us. God says, don't learn the ways of the nations. Let's see what the ways of the nations is. Because a lot of our people did exactly what we're about to read. Come on.
And be not.
Hey, give me close. Bring up that camera a little closer. I'm far away like a little egg on a table somewhere. No. I'm talking about with the lens. It don't get no closer. All right. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to mess with you, cameraman. Read.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain.
For the customs of the people are vain. God said that the customs of the nations are vain. Are vain, meaning have no value. So why are you participating in them, Israel? Go ahead.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest.
Go ahead.
The work of the hands of the workmen with the axe.
That's the Christmas tree, the so-called Christmas tree. That's where this demonic holiday come from, the Babylonians. Go ahead.
They
have nothing to do with Jesus. Our people are so damn evil and wicked as hell. What the hell is a Christmas tree? I know I'm using a lot of H words. What does a Christmas tree and some bulbs have to do with Jesus?
Right.
What does that have to do with Jesus? And you telling me our people don't know that? They know that Christ wasn't born under no doggone Christmas tree, and they still, with their undisciplined selves, gonna spend billions of dollars, and ain't doing a damn thing to help our people. Put that money towards helping our brothers, helping these men to get their minds right. You're gonna spend it on some doggone foolishness and give it to these merchants that's building prisons with your damn money. Go ahead.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not.
All of these, our people need so much help. It's not even funny. The women, the sisters need help. The brothers need help. Mothers need help. But what are we doing? We running talking about some damn Christmas and New Year's. All this doggone foolishness, totally undisciplined and don't give a damn. And meanwhile, the reality for our sons and daughters is getting worse and worse and worse. After a while, you ain't going to be able to spend nothing. I think the last record that I heard, I think I passed a statistic. They said it was the biggest year in terms of money being made on this doggone demonic holiday. I think that was one of the reports that I heard. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I got it wrong. But they said they made big money this year. Go ahead.
They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not.
This the Christmas tree, the so-called Christmas tree. That's what it's talking about. And our people celebrated the hell out of that doggone thing. And it got nothing to do with Jesus. And they know it ain't got nothing to do with Jesus. But our people are so undisciplined, so much in the immediate gratification of the Christmas carols and the jingle bells and the ham, whatever food they have, ham and turkey. What they have on Christmas?
Same thing they have for Thanksgiving.
Ham, turkey, all that.
Unclean food.
Glaze, all that garbage.
Food.
That's what they have, all that. Probably got some pig somewhere tied up, throwing up in that damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, again, it is incumbent upon us. Yes, our brothers are messed up, the ones that are locked up, but what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? At some point, the line has to be drawn. At some point, we have to say, okay, that's enough. We have to start organizing and doing exactly what that Bible says in about gather yourselves together, Zephaniah 2:1. We have to get to that point. Come out of the bullshit so you can understand. Is that it?
They must needs be born because they cannot go.
These trees had to be carried because they can't go on their own because the spirit, the doctrine back then was that the spirit of Nimrod was going to come inside the tree and attack you if you didn't bring gifts to the palace. Okay, for Semiramis and about Nimrod. That's what that's talking about. And Tammuz and all that garbage. Read.
Be not afraid of them.
Be not afraid of the tree, because the spirit of Nimrod ain't going to come in the tree and do nothing, because there's no spirit in the tree. This was Jeremiah telling the silly Israelites that was being pushed, that wicked doctrine was being pushed on our people back then. That's what's going on here. Go ahead.
For they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
The tree can't do evil to you, and it can't do good to you. Okay? And that's why a lot of people don't even realize that in some of these doggone dumb Christmas carols, they're talking about, so he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows when you've been bad or good, so be good. How in the hell did I remember that garbage? Okay? Yeah, because they basically saying Nimrod going to get you. If you were good, he going to take care of you. If you bad, he going to chase you. It all come out of this garbage that we're reading here.
And you know it has nothing to do with Christ, because this is in the book of Jeremiah.
Exactly. They know that. The preachers, that's showing, again, that's why I say that the brothers that on the corners, they can't go to the church. Here we, just like you pointed out, this is the Old Testament. Christ wasn't on the scene then. So how in the hell is this his birthday? You wicked demons. How in the hell is this his birthday? And you know that. And the gutless preacher won't even say that. He be right there in the church and won't even mention none of this to his whole sea of lost people sitting there. Got a damn Christmas tree damn near on the altar.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Before I get us shut off.
Let's go with the video.
Come on.
Apologize to you from Rikers?
No.
From the prosecutor's office?
No.
Did she get an apology? That's the question. She asked the question. Byron asked it. That's Byron, right? What's his name? He asked the question, and he said, did you get an apology from Rikers? Did you get an apology from the city? That's what's happening here. Because the video cutting in the middle, people might not remember or didn't put the pieces together. Go ahead.
Mentally.
Has anyone apologized to you from Rikers?
No.
From the prosecutor's office?
No.
What do you hope happens now?
I want them to be responsible, to admit that it was their fault that my son is dead. He spent 3 years in hell.
It sounds like you're in that hell now.
I will be in hell until the day I die because I found my son hanging. If your child is murdered, you have an immediate anger towards that person, and you want that person found, you know, and pay for what they did to your child. It's not one person, it's a whole system that destroyed my son.
There you go. She finally
And
said it. I didn't think she was going to say that. She's 100% properly.
Right.
She's 100% correct. It's a whole system that did it. And you're going to ask me, did the city apologize? The whole doggone city, the whole system is wicked as hell. You teach our babies that we're nothing. We walk the streets, we'll get treated like nothing. You look at us like nothing. Hell, we hate the own color of our skin. Our women are walking around with some damn blonde hair looking like a bumblebee. And she thinks she's looking like something, like she looking like she's sane.
Right.
Stuff like that. Why is it that our people are doing this kind of stuff? Because the image of our people is destroyed. Go ahead. Go ahead, brothers. Look at the pain on her face, man. That's horrible. That's horrible.
And all to pay.
I deeply wish we hadn't lost him, but he did not die in vain.
New York did away with solitary confinement for 16 and 17-year-olds. Plans were announced to fix crowded dockets in courts to ensure the right to a speedy trial. There are also calls for change to the cash bail system. Currently, only 12% of defendants in New York City make bail.
We're in a quest for justice right now, Byron.
Did y'all hear that statistic? 12% of those inmates make bail. And it's talking about black people mainly, because that's the majority of the people that's at Rikers. And if they're speaking about Rikers particularly, but 12%. You can go for ages digging up how wicked this slavery, because that's basically a slavery system coming out of the 13th Amendment. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But there's something that a lot of you probably don't know. Okay, a lot of people talk about the amendments to the Constitution when they speak about the first 12 articles of the Constitution was basically for white America. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and so forth was basically about the bringing in the blacks and doing certain things for them. Okay, that's a little bit of history that perhaps we'll touch on. If not in this episode, we'll touch a little bit about that as well. But the reason why I'm saying that is because some of y'all may be familiar with what's known as the Dred Scott decision, and I remember having this discussion a while back, and I was talking to somebody, actually a cousin of mine that actually went to law school. He's a lawyer, taxation, making big money. But anyway, when I was telling him about this, he was trying to say that that the amendments to the Constitution later basically trumped this. On paper, it did, but in reality, it didn't, and that's what I wanted to talk about here. I guess I'm going to let this play out because there's a lot of information here, but I wanted to read it. This was dealing with the Dred Scott decision, the 1856 term. It was a U.S. Supreme Court decision where you had Dred Scott versus Sanford, and he was trying to sue, and they were saying you can't sue because basically slaves don't have any rights. So that kind of thing. So that was the point. They said upon a writ of error to the Circuit Court of the United States, and there's a whole transcript here. And there were certain segments that I wanted to bring out of this thing here, and I'm gonna bring them out. Probably not now, but I'm gonna bring them out, and it's going to show you that what's going on in the Constitution, what's going on in this country today, it is absolutely according to what this document is saying. Although they had the quote unquote abolition of slavery and the amendments and so forth, and that's the reason the 13th Amendment with that loophole in it basically is what this thing is going into. All right, should I read it? What time?
Oh, we still got about another what?
Yeah,
30.
Yeah, let the rest of this play. I think I'm gonna touch on a little bit if the Spirit lead me to. Mm-hmm. If the Spirit lead me to. I know we don't like to get into long things like this here. We like, but go ahead. Let's see how the Spirit lead. Go ahead.
12% of defendants in New York City make bail.
We're in a quest for justice right now, Byron.
Paul Prestia, who helped Khalif file his civil suit against the city, says it's not enough.
Reforms are all nice and well, but admit you did something wrong here, because that was always Khalif's message. How many young men have to go through this?
99% of the critics, they'll talk all that junk. I promise you, they wouldn't have the courage to do the job that the correction officers do.
Bernie Carrick knows the system from both sides. The former chief of the New York City Police Department, he also ran Rikers Island for years. And as a convicted felon, he spent time in solitary confinement.
As someone that spent 60 days inside solitary confinement, it creates paranoia. It makes you insane.
But he cautions the city against bowing to public pressure and implementing changes, he says, that could put Rikers correction officers and inmates in danger.
If you take solitary confinement away from the correction officials, you're going to see a major, major increase in violence. These are kids that come from gangs. These are kids that ran the streets. I think is very dangerous.
So what would you do? What would be your suggestions to improve Rikers Island?
I think you keep that. You charge the staff that violate the law, and they're locked up.
It's not hard to imagine the life he might have led if he had made it.
I have the medal hanging on my bed.
You see it in the remnants of the life and the people he left behind, like Elizabeth Payams, a program director at Bronx Community College who worked closely with Khalif. She says she's working on getting Khalif his associate degree posthumously.
It's for you. Thank you so much.
What do you want the world to remember of your son?
To remember him for the stand-up person that he was. He was a good person.
The kind of person who turned down a plea bargain on principle, whose story may help save others like him.
Pause it. That's a level of discipline right there.
Yes, it is.
That's a level of discipline right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
He turned down the so-called rewards of freedom. Mm-hmm. But that ain't us. We going to go spin up and be participating in all these wicked holidays because we looking for the pseudo reward. Mm-hmm. But the real rewards will come when we do what's right, and God going to give us the reward in the end. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's why I titled it, Discipline Now, and we will get the real reward later. Not this foolish BS type of reward that we are looking for. That brother right there, the Most High, hopefully the Most High will, I don't know how.
Have mercy
You
on
know,
them.
have mercy on them.
Yes,
You
sir.
understand what I'm saying? Because, you know, only the Lord knows. But it's a tragic situation, you know. But
it's a very powerful example,
right,
Deacon, like you said.
Yeah.
To hear these young men's stories
Yeah.
and make us aware that's what's going on in our nation, you know, in Israel, you know, and so that we could be, you know, keen upon these things, that we can, you know, there again, bring them back to where they need to be at, which is in the Bible, the book of our Father. Be disciplined according to law, statute, God's law, statute, commandment. Because that's what we all been missing at. Speaking with Captain Dakar, you know, we've seen where our people can come together and put their monies together and do great things. We've seen that now through history. But then it fell to the ground. What was the missing pieces of the puzzle that they didn't have? Going back again, this Bible, the discipline.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Right, and like I was about to, some of y'all probably picked up on what I was saying. I don't know the final days and hours of the brother, and it ain't one of those situations where you be on the cross and tell me, "Oh, I forgive" and all that. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
I just don't know what the Lord is going to do with that spirit. I just don't know, because I don't know where he went before he died. So I don't know. I don't know if he repented. That I don't know. So I can't speak in ignorance of him. But I hope at some point that he got to find out who he was and repented before he did what he did there. Where are we at?
I know you had another video as well, Deke. I know we spoke. This was a big thing that came out back about 3 or 4 months ago. We even had a movie night on it, but it was the Central Park 5.
Yeah. Go ahead and drop that.
So we can bring that video up as well. There again, another.
But I'm gonna save this Constitution thing. I'm gonna deal with it the right way. I was kind of just trying to throw it in, but no, we're gonna do it the right way. Go ahead, Captain.
So we just want to bring this video up as well.
30 years ago, the case of the Central Park 5 shook New York City to its core. Today, it stands as a cautionary tale of injustice, as Maurice Dubois explains.
Kevin Richardson, 44 years old. Corey Wise.
Raymond Santana.
Yusuf Salam, 45 years old.
Antron McCray.
5 men, connected in a way few of us could ever imagine.
Is there a day or a week or a month that goes by when you don't think about the whole episode that brought you together?
It's every day, constantly.
Probably my second or third thought.
Even our conversations is different. It's not normal. Our conversations would be about prison, how we had to survive in prison.
You've just met the Central Park 5, a name they came to share 30 years ago after a young white woman named Trisha Miley went for a jog in New York's Central Park.
It was a brutal attack on a 28-year-old woman jogger.
She was dragged down the bushes where she was beaten and sexually assaulted.
The attack was an outrage and became a media sensation. Investigators quickly focused on a group of black and Hispanic boys who were in the park that night.
Police say the gang of attackers was actually just half of a wolf pack of some 33 kids that committed
There's
some
that name
7
again,
other
wolf pack,
muggings
you heard
earlier
it?
that night.
We are announcing the arrests of 4 males, all between 14 and 15 years of age.
Let them curl.
Eventually, the 5 teenagers were tried, convicted, and imprisoned for the crime they maintained they did not do.
All we need is for one to tie this whole thing together.
The story of how the boys were charged and years later cleared of that notorious crime is the subject of a new Netflix miniseries by the Oscar-nominated writer-director Ava DuVernay.
What was your starting point for this story?
My goal was to humanize boys and now men who are widely regarded as criminals, and in doing that, to invite the audience to reinterrogate everyone that they define as a criminal.
The series is called When They See Us, and DuVernay contends that what is seen all too often in criminal cases is race.
I'm asking the question to everyone, what do you see when you see black boys? And that's a painful answer, because I know what the answer is for many people. It's exactly what these boys were called, wolf pack, animals, criminals, so much so that they could be tossed aside on a case that was made from a complete lie.
Kevin, Antron, and Raymond saw you messing around with the lady.
Who said that?
In the series, as in life, only 2 of the 5 teenagers even knew each other. But during interrogation, they say police coerced them to create stories implicating one another.
What are you talking about? The lady in the park! I didn't see a lady or hit anyone.
Raymond saw you hit her!
Who's Raymond?
The men who lived through it say the reality was even worse.
Soon as we get in, they separate us, and they start working on us. And I'm hearing Corey being physically beaten in the next room. And I'm immediately beyond afraid.
At the time, my mom, she suffered from a stroke. She had diabetes, and she left. And that was their time to get on me.
And what happened?
What didn't happen?
We're 14, 15, and 16-year-old kids. Never been in trouble with the law, never had no police contact. These are seasoned veterans. This fight was fixed.
I just kept telling the truth at first. They asked to speak to my father. My father left the room with them, came back in the room, he just changed. Cursing, yelling at me. And he said, tell these people what they want to hear so you go home. I was like, Dad, but I ain't do anything. The police yelling at me, father yelling at me. And I just like, all right, I did it. And I looked up to my father. He was my hero. But he gave up on me. You know, I was telling the truth. He just told me to lie.
Did you ever make peace with your father?
No. Didn't want to.
He said he didn't want. He said, hold it. Did you ever make peace with your father? The black man that's interviewing him could even relate to know what questions to ask. None of us are totally absolved. If you're black in this country, you ain't absolved of some of the pain that our people go through. And when I think about, and I'm thinking about the brother that hung himself with the air conditioner cord and all of that. You know, your heart bleeds for your people. I know he didn't. I can imagine he didn't know the truth. And know the Most High. And so I don't know what to really. I don't want to say anything negative about the brother, but the Lord, that's in the Lord's hands. I'll just put it like I put it like that there. But if you did not repent before you left this earth, you done. So I understand it from that point. Because that's biblical, so I want to make sure that people get that understanding. But at the same time, our hearts bleed for our people, especially when they, who could sit by and watch and just be totally unconnected to the suffering that you see your people go through. That's not us, man. We just the same way our girls are being snatched up off the street. They're not in the body. They're not in IUIC. These are our girls in the community, and we feel that pain, man. Right, whether they're in the scripture or not, we feel the pain of our people. So I feel the pain of Khalif Browder and these brothers.
Right.
Even though they didn't know the scriptures, I feel that pain. And I just, I'm not the Most High. But according to the scriptures, if they did not repent, they're not going to make it. So I'll just leave it there, and I'll let the Lord take it from there. But. As we're looking at this scene here, I'm going to give it to you, Captain, real quick. As we're looking at this scene here, the interviewer is asking him, the brother, and he said about forgiving. He said, do you forgive your father? The brother said, no, I don't feel like I can, because he felt like he was let down. And this is what I was talking about through all the videos that we were looking at. The fact that our fathers are not in the home, it leads to situation. That's a trauma itself. The women are under the trauma. And I remember his particular story because I watched him on another program. He was afraid to let his kids go outside.
Right.
He was afraid to let his kids go outside because they might just get picked up from some mistaken identity thing and go through the mess that he went through. So that's a whole level of trauma right there. So go ahead, Captain.
But no, just the young men how they got them, young black men. Even myself, even us, let's just talk about it. Even I know, let's say for an example, like the sticker on my car, it might be about to expire. I know in my head, I got to get that sticker taken care of my car, because if the police pull me over for some expiration on my tag, that could even mean that he could sit there and say, I done something wrong. That could be the enemy. I'm already already get myself ready to take care of that sticker because it could also cost me my death.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that's driving while black. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that simple.
That's the trauma. That's the trauma that we live through. You know, I remember reading this book. I got this book called Two Nations, written by this Edomite, by the way, named Andrew Hacker, and he talks about the difference between black people living in this country and white people living in this country. He said when you black, you drive your car, you do exactly 55 miles an hour. Because you just that just stays in your mind because you know that there's somebody aiming for you all the time. But he said, but when you're white, you don't. That's not even an afterthought. You do 70 without even thinking about it. So he was making a point that the psychology in both is different. This is an Edomite speaking about this. You know, how much credit can you give that? Why in the world an Edomite got to write a book like that? And that ain't giving no real credit. We need to tell that story. I'll let no Edomite tell a story, but I just mentioned that. Go ahead.
They want to. Wow. My life is ruined. Why should I? He's a coward.
Let me tell you right now, Corey, okay? This is very, very serious.
None of the 5 ever admitted to committing the rape, but they did confess to being there.
You know that other people say that you did.
I know I did. They blamed each other, damning admissions, even in the absence of physical evidence.
No blood on their clothing. The semen doesn't match. The DNA tests come back negative. There's nothing that links these boys to the crime.
All were found guilty. 4 of the 5 served about 7-year sentences as juveniles, refusing early parole because it required admitting guilt. But the oldest of the group, Corey Wise, served time as an adult. In his 13th year in prison, Wise had a chance encounter with another inmate that would change the lives of all the men convicted of the rape.
The resolution of this whole tragedy came from something that I don't believe is happenstance. It's a coincidence that borders on miracle.
Matias Reyes spotted Wise in a prison yard.
So he's just talking to me. Wow, you still here after all these years? I guess so.
They'd met years before, and he began to feel guilty that Wise was still in prison for a crime Reyes had committed.
He saw Corey and was like, he's still here? I gotta tell the truth.
Reyes confessed that he alone committed the rape, offering details about the crime that only the assailant would know. His DNA was a match, and the men were exonerated. The city of New York eventually agreed to a $41 million settlement, about $1 million for each year of imprisonment.
Did the money make it better?
We were able to relocate, put our children in better situations. Besides that, no.
No amount of money could have given us our time back.
Is there a life lesson for what you've been through?
Truth. I preach to my kids, just tell the truth, be true to who you are. Honestly, the last time I lied got me 7.5 years for something I didn't do.
All right, let's stop it there. Yeah. Let's stop it there. So as y'all can see, what time running? I guess y'all got any scriptures? Anything y'all want to bring out on this?
Behold,
what's going on with this thing? What's
okay?
Got anything y'all want to bring out?
Well, I did want to say, you have, the Central Park 5. I watched this particular documentary. Some may say it's a movie, but you can watch it on Netflix. And then actually after watching this, it led me into another documentary, a movie that was dealing with Khalif Browder, so which was pretty interesting to see this pattern that's going on. So I saw that what it was that the justice system had to have somebody to take on the responsibility for this crime being committed against the woman jogging in the park there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so these was young men that was suspects of something they didn't do, and obviously you can see the trauma that they had to go through each individual, Yusuf Salam, Antron McCray, Corey Wise, Kevin Richardson, and Raymond Santana. So they all had their individual stories and happenings, but it really damaged them in a way that they can't get back. Like you said, the amount of money could never bring that back to them, the life that was taken away from them. Even to be men, as you see, they trying to be fathers or whether husbands or just being civilized men, disciplined men, living in society. You see how hard it is for them to even live and cope with these things even now, Captain. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. They talked about their families and that they're trying to, hold fast to the children that's coming up behind them. But there's a script. Eli, help me out with this script. I want to talk about Hebrew 6 and 10. We was talking about this earlier before we got going, but I just want to see this discipline, what we talking about. There is some discipline when they held the line like that, and they didn't cow down to all those pressures that was. As a young 14-year-old, they said, I didn't do it. Right. As young 15-year-olds, they said, I did not do this thing. Right. They was all holding the line.
Right.
Read that, Officer Eli.
And I got a scripture I want to bring before we close out. Go ahead.
Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10. For God is not unrighteous to forget your works and labor of love.
Even though they, we concede, but the works that they stood for righteousness. They stood for the truth. They stood for what was right. God is not, read that from the top again.
For God is not unrighteous to forget your works and labor of love.
Read on.
Which ye have showed towards his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister.
That helps us. Even though that they went through, for them to hold the line and to hold up for what's right, that helps our people. Our people need to be shown what's right. And this gives us a chance to minister the gospel to our people. And this is our opportunity that we continue to do, minister to our people. But for them to sit there and hold the line like that, those young men, they was very young. And be hearing another young man beaten in the next room to you and still hold the line and say, hey, listen, I did not do this. I did not kill nobody.
And they didn't have the truth. They didn't have the truth. So I get the point there. Now I want to get into something because I want to make sure that we leave this program with the right thought concerning situations like this here, because I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. Give me Numbers chapter 25. I'm going to show you something. Numbers chapter 25, read 1 down. The point is in the 9th verse, but read 1 down, Eli. We're going to get this in because I want to bring this thing out. Because I want to make a good point, because there is an emotional tie, like I said, when we see our people go through these things. You understand? And the Lord is the one that deals with the spirits of our people. But I want to read this thing here. That's going to help. That's going to smooth out the bumps. Read.
Numbers chapter 25, verse 1. And Israel abode in Shittim, and the people began to commit whoredom with the daughters of Moab.
The Israelites, many of the Israelites began to commit whoredom with the people of Moab. Go ahead. Many of our men.
And they called the people unto the sacrifices of their gods, and the people did eat and bow down to their gods.
Read.
And Israel joined himself unto Baal Peor, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel.
And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. Do you think everybody in the nation of Israel was doing this? No. There was some that tried to do right. What? Keep reading.
And the Lord said unto Moses, take all the heads of the people and hang them up before the Lord against the sun, that the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel.
That the fierce anger of the Lord may be turned away from Israel. The reason why I'm reading this is because I want to correlate it so you can get the proper understanding. You also had a situation where you had this wicked brother among us that was disobedient against the laws, against the commandment that Joshua had given that said that for us not to take the spoils as we were going through the land. A Negro among us took a Babylonian garment and hid it, and thousands of our people were dying. Okay, these people were fighting these people were doing the right thing, and they died. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm making a point that the Most High brings death regardless. Okay, go ahead, come back to this here. Read.
And Moses said unto the judges of Israel, slay ye every one his men that were joined unto Baal Peor.
Read.
And behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto him.
So once that happened, all them heads hitting, a lot of people was like, okay, we ain't messing up. We gonna get ourselves together. But as that was going on, one Negro, go ahead,
brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from among the congregation, and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent, and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly.
So it killed both of them. Go ahead, read.
So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel.
Go ahead.
And those that died in the plague were 24,000.
So 24,000 Israelites died. Okay, I wanted to correlate that because we was talking about the brother here. They died, but they weren't all right. They were not all wicked. There was some righteous, a few, not many of them, because a lot of people were wicked back then. But you had a few of them that was trying to do right on some level. But the Most High killed all of them. So my point is that the Most High will put people to death, and he will have like the situation that we just saw with the brother there. But we have an emotional tie to our people to see them go through this. But the Most High will cause that spirit to die, and we can like you're bringing out, that is an example of a level of discipline that a lot of people with scriptures don't even follow. So that's just something for us to just pay attention to. All right, but I just wanted to make the point that that sometimes people die, and their death have to just be an example to the rest of us. Okay, so a rather tragic situation. And, like I said, if he wasn't in this truth, the Most High just took him. But that death, hopefully, it made some of us think, some of us think. So, I don't know. With that, anybody else have anything else to bring out?
Well, I would say,
I hope that people understood the point I was trying to make without going in the wrong direction with it. But go ahead, Captain.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to also... if you visit in North Carolina, you actually can visit. We got 3 schools in the Carolinas. We have IUIC in Raleigh, North Carolina at 111 South Market Street, Benson, North Carolina, 27504. And then we have also IUIC Columbia, South Carolina at 1823 Gregg Street, Columbia, South Carolina at 29201. And right here in Concord, North Carolina, 300 Copperfield Boulevard, Concord, North Carolina, 28026. Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Well, next week we'll continue on with this series, and we have a lot more to bring out to you. And stay tuned, brothers and sisters. It's time for us to get ourselves together. But what I wanted to say in regards to the topic, because of our non-adherence and discipline in keeping God's laws, we bring on such tragedies like this here. And that was the point that I was bringing out, okay? But by us not standing up and being the real men of God, we will allow our sons and daughters to go down this very path of destruction, and it's a horrible thing. It's terrible. Our kids are being abducted. Our women are being abducted because of our refusal to do God's word. That's why all these terrible things are happening. You understand? That's why these things are happening. So we have to return to God. We have to. We have to keep those laws like the Most High said in that Bible. So, next week we'll continue on with that. All right?
Deacon, I do want to bring this out. So those of y'all, make sure you reach out to your camp leaders for registration for the Passover. Also, I just want to make this statement clear here that we are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. Israel United in Christ is a nonviolent, Bible-based movement. We do not advocate or condone any acts of violence against any race, ethnicity, or gender. We advise that if anyone hears or knows of any plots to cause harm to anyone or to break the laws of the land, you must contact your proper authorities to bring awareness to any possible threat, as stated in Leviticus 5:1. And that's all I have with that.
All praise to the Most High. That's
shalom.
on point. Most High in Christ bless y'all. Shalom.
Shalom.
Hey,
Israel.
shalom.
Most High in Christ bless.
Most High in Christ bless.